some of the notes you guys have down so far? Eric?
The first one, he was making a cake and he did have sugar.
Right, so the wolf needed sugar. He wasn't just going over to torment the little pigs, right? So, wolf needed sugar. Good. Does anyone else have one they want to share? Candy? What else do you have down? Anything? What were the houses made out of? Were they really sturdy and strong? What were they made out of, Eddie?
What was made out of wood?
Close. It was kind of wood. Houses made of straw and sticks, which is like wood. Good. So these weren't the sturdiest houses. I mean, if they didn't want them to fall over, then they should have made them a little better, right? What else? Anyone else have anything to share? You have a lot, Adrian. What do you have down? He what? He tried to cover his mouth. He didn't mean to sneeze the house down. So he tried to cover his sneeze. And who is he? The wolf. Liam, what do you have? Your hand was up, right? He what? He ate the dead pig. That might be something good to have if you're on the pig side, Lex and Elijah. On the pig side, you can say he still ate us, right? It's not like he let us go or called the ambulance. He ate us. Okay, so that's for maybe the pig people. The wolf ate the pigs. Good. All right, we're going to keep reading, and then we'll stop again and make sure everyone has the notes, okay? Good. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming. I huffed and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it. This guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was a second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now you know food will spoil, and if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went up to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. Hi, Lon. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one cup. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of the cake when I felt my cold coming on. So I huffed and I snuffed, and what did I do? What did he do? Sneezed. The third little pig yelled, and your old granny can sit on a pin. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when someone talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down this pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporter found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner, and they figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. So this time, what I want you to do with the ending is think about who's the real people that made the wolf look bad. The last page I said. When the news reporter showed up, what did he say? Let's read the last page again. It's very interesting. Different perspective. Who wants to read the last page nice and loud? You do, Eric? All right, right here, this paragraph. Nice and loud.
The news reporter found out about the 2 pigs and had
news reporters wanted a good story, which sometimes happens in real life. So instead of saying what the wolf said happened, they said what they saw. And that's how we got our Three Little Pigs story, right? So now, what I want you guys to do is
William or Brandon, please.
flip your sheet over.
553.
Okay.
Thank you.
Has anybody ever heard of rate when you're answering a question? I know we do it at Beck, so I'm not sure. Have you heard of it, Lex? R-A-T-E? To answer a question? Do it at West. So, what it is, R is restate the question. So raise your hand if you know what that means. Restate the question. So if I said, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? How would you restate the question? Lex? Tell us. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream? How would you say it back to me by restating the question? Awesome. So Lex said, my favorite flavor is perfect. So for our question, which I'm going to pull back up in a minute, about whose side are you on, it's important that you restate it. So on the organizer I gave everybody, there's a section to do each of these things. So up here is where you're going to restate the question, okay, where it says R. Next is answer the question. What do you think? What's your answer? So if the question is asking us whose side are we on, this is where we would tell everybody what we think, right? So my favorite flavor of ice cream is, what is it? What's your favorite flavor? Chocolate. So she answered the question and she restated it. But next, we need T, text evidence. And what did we just learn that text evidence was? We just talked about it. Remember, I held the book up and I said, here's the text, and the evidence is inside. So what is text evidence? Seamus? I'm holding the text. The evidence, or the proof, is inside, right? So what do you think text evidence would be for this story? You need examples, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to say, this happens in the story, therefore that's how I know this, okay?
Or on page 5, he said this.
Right. Which, it might be hard for this because I only have one copy of the book, but I will leave it at the front for you guys to come up and look, okay? And then E, explain and wrap it up. You don't want to just say, my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate. I've tried a bunch of other flavors and didn't like them. One sec. You also want to say, therefore, I know chocolate's my favorite flavor. We wrap it up. Yes, Liam?
See the right, the R-A-T-E
Yeah.
is rate.
Great. Exactly. That's something for us to remember it. So rate is how we answer questions. Okay? Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull the question up so we all have it in front of us. If you'd like, there's space at the bottom of your organizer to copy the question down. You don't have to. And we're going to take some time. The teachers are going to go around the room and we're going to help you. And you're going to fill this in. There's no right or wrong answer. You can be on either side. But what you're going to be graded on is if you follow the organizer. So you want to restate the question. You want to answer the question. And then I'll have the book at the front. You don't have to say specific pages or anything crazy like that because like I said, there's one copy, it might be hard. But you can say things that you copy down in your notes, okay? And then a good closing, all right? Does anyone have any questions before we get started? And then I'm going to come around while you're working, okay? All right, I'm going to pull the question up. And everyone can get started.
Should we read the story and see if we can answer that stuff?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Alright, so whose side do you believe? We already decided if we're on the pig or the wolf side. So a good way to restate this question might be, what? Anyone have anything they want to volunteer? Whose side do you believe? The big bad wolf or the three little pigs, and why? So well, whatever your answer is, how do we restate the question? We want to do this. Yeah, exactly. You want to retell the question. You want to make it so that if a random person on the street read your paper, they would know exactly what you were telling them without seeing the question. So maybe we could say, let's come up with some examples. I'm going to put some up on the board, and then you can use them if you need help, okay? Yeah. Okay, so here's one way you can start. Of the pigs and the wolves, or out of both sides, this is the side I believe. You could start it off creatively maybe and say something like, the three little pigs and the big bad wolf both have different sides to the same story. I believe the side blank. Does anyone else have anything? Any cool ideas of how you're going to restate it? Janice? Okay, so this would be the answer, okay? You can combine the two, but you need to restate it first. So that's a really good sentence for the answer, okay? Alright, so everyone work, and I'll come around and help. Well, are you on the pig or wolf side? Because if you're on the wolf side, you believe the wolf was right, and then the pigs were wrong. Here's another possible way that you can start it. After reading the true story of the three little pigs, I am on the wolf side. And then you'll go down to answer, and you'll start to explain.